So in the previous video we were talking about the cruel joke of socionics, which is that because of the possibility to develop the wrong aspects, the ones from your opposite quadra, the unvalued functions, the ignoring, basically. We talk about the ignoring and the demonstrative. You as well as your dual can look like basically your so you look like your extinguisher, and your dual looks like their extinguisher, which is your superego.
Or you might look like their superego.
Basically, you look like each other's superegos, which, as we explained in the previous video, is arguably the worst relationship of all. Yeah, but there's one way to kind of... The good thing about socionics, well, is that you can develop your own functions.
Your valued ones.
The ones that are generally considered weak, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So this is the idea of dimensionality.
Yeah.
Basically stating that your valued functions, so we're talking about your suggestive and your activating functions. So not your ego block, but the kind of the dualizing block. That block is considered to be by default weak, and apparently it's always going to be weak if you're
according to dimensionality, it's always weak, because you get basically the idea of dimensionality says that you have a 4D lead, 4 dimensions, 3 dimensions creative, 2 dimensions role, 1 dimension vulnerable, and then you go back on the suggestive 1 dimension, mobilizing 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions on the ignoring, and
4 dimensions of demonstrative.
Yeah. Which basically would mean that you will never be able to understand your dual.
Explain.
Because you will be like, your weakest, basically your suggestive is as weak then as your vulnerable, and your mobilizer is weak as your role. So, and those would be the suggestive and the mobilizing are the first aspects of your dual. That's who they are, really. And then
the vulnerable of your dual, which is your demonstrative,
is your strongest one.
Is always apparently, according to this model,
is as strong as your lead.
Is basically as strong as your lead, which basically means
that that you're so very good at what you do doesn't see at all, and you're completely bad at the stuff that they they live for, really, like what they stand for. Yeah. And so there's no possibility of understanding, really. I mean, the idea, I guess, how people see it is that, your dual comes in and does everything, covers your suggestive, and you cover their suggestive, but why? You can't talk. Literally, you will not understand each other, because whenever they go full on, even with like 3-dimensional creative, the way you do your lead, you won't get it. You won't get who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, and etc. And it's like, what kind of communication is possible there, really? Which does make sense. And also by observation, what we've seen, it's not how it is, and people can develop their valued aspects, which that's how dualization works. That's what dualization is about. You can develop them, and then you get the understanding. You still cover, and especially you still cover your dual's vulnerable as your dual's role, but in a different way. Because it's not that you always produce your, let's say, their vulnerable, which is your mobilizing. You don't always produce it. If you have developed your own aspects, then you see it, and you can swap it for the aspect they understand. So, like, let's say II has mobilizing FI, then you swap it for TI, and you just point out, basically, it's also unvalid, right? So you point out saying like, hey, here's some FI, but no one cares about it, so I can explain you why. Don't worry, it's not an important thing. I can expose it for you, but it's not something we value.
Yeah, so it's something that happens in the background rather than in the foreground.
Yep.
Whereas, and we've made this distinction before, the one between producing and seeing something. So basically, ideally, if you develop your own aspects, you become kind of as true to your personality as you can be, and then your demonstrative and ignoring are basically in the background. just kind of.
Well,
like,
they actually then they become the actual ignoring and demonstrative by the
Basically,
name, because
literally,
because then you literally you push down
Yeah.
the ignoring,
Yeah.
because you literally ignore it, because that's the role of your dual. They hate this stuff,
Yeah.
and so you basically try to extinguish it. That's
And
why extinguishers.
No, interestingly, you also hate it by default. Well, not by
No,
default.
not
but,
by default, but if you have
but
developed
yeah,
it, you also hate it. Yeah.
hate it actually, because guess what? They conflict with your own quadro
Yeah.
aspects.
Yeah.
Even if they're not your vulnerable and
Well, because if you have developed, basically, if you do not have developed ignoring, then you have developed suggestive, which would be the opposite aspect, literally. So that's why you don't like it.
right. I think that makes sense.
Yeah? Is that all?
Right.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Not on this topic.
Okay, cool.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.